Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Show with Daryoush. We're here tonight again with Kurt Roskopf, Patricia Herberger from Legal Shield and ID Shield, and Bobak, the Mac expert who is now switching to Linux and uh, has prepared some interesting information about the different versions of Linux. But before everything, let me tell you happy Thanksgiving to all my American friends and colleagues. I hope you enjoy the day with the family and friends. Before starting giving the microphone and camera to the guests, there is a serious security news that I will need to inform you. There has been a serious two-factor authentication flaw in the cPanel and WHM, and this is important for all those who are using a dedicated server and are using WHM and cPanel software for managing their dedicated servers. This flaw lets the hackers to bypass the two-factor authentication and access to the server. The company has released an update. The issue is tracked as SEC 575 and was discovered by researchers from Digital Defense, and the update is available. So if you have such kind of these softwares on your server for managing your servers, please install this update as soon as possible. In the previous episode, we started an introduction about Linux as an alternative for Windows and Mac. For a long time, Linux was known. Linux is an open source operating system, and basically it is known as a very secure operating system. But this security depends on the software that you install on it. The kernel and the operating system is secure, but if you install third-party softwares, the security is relative, and it depends on the release that you are using, the distribution that you are using, and the purpose. There is a difference between the softwares for the server version and desktop version. And there are different releases and distributions of Linux. Fedora, Red Hat, Mint, Slackware, and so many other distributions. Now, when someone wants to try Linux and search for it, you will get confused. Which one should I use? Which one is better? Which one meets my needs, and which one I can use and which one I have to forget? In order to help you understand this, we started a research about it, and Babak has prepared a report and tested most of these distributions and versions, releases, and let's see what he has prepared for us tonight. Babak?
Thank you. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you're having a good time. Yes, as Daryoush stated, switching to Linux was not honestly so easy. Again, I tested some other versions too during the week. Not only there are, as far as I know, more than 1,000 distributions of Linux, but also there are variety of applications written by individuals, I may say. So all of these third-party applications are on the internet and available for people. As far as I understood, the majority of these applications are usable. Some of them are great. We can use them. Some of them, sadly, there are, or better to say, they have issues which not being updated on the basis of time. So again, someone who comes to the Linux operating systems have this issue, unfortunately, too. So finding the sources is really difficult. On the other hand, as far as I understood again and faced the problem, it's not that Linux can be installed on any computer. Both of my computers have microphone issues. I cannot use my microphone of the computer. I have to use one of these headsets to be able to use it. The other one, which my PC actually have Ethernet problem. Finding the suitable, I may say, drive for that was challenging. Some people suggest that you need to compile from the sources, which is difficult. A person who comes to Linux is difficult to compile because I do not know any compiling or language system to do that. I just want to work. I understand that so many other people who wants to switch just wants to work. So beside the hardware situation, we have this software situation that we need to solve it. Fortunately, it's like a sea and ocean of the information over the internet. There are many resources that we can use over the internet to find a solution for that. We just need to type it. How can I update my Skype, for example, by command line? There are many suggestions for that. However, the Fedora operating system that I used was a vanilla system, which is like vanilla. It is great, amazing, but it is completely pure. It doesn't have that much applications that we use. I suggest during all of the tests that I had, Manjaro had has actually very good releases. I'm currently using KDE Plasma, which is really good. It's really buttery, it's really clean, working great. And so far, fortunately, I didn't have any problem. Time to time, I get some information, some notifications that you need to update your kernel. I don't know what kernel is. I'm afraid to do that. So I try to stay away from those kind of stuff to prevent any damages. So after Manjaro, I installed Libreoffice, which is really great. Among those other open source, I may say, open sources versions, Libreoffice is so compatible with Microsoft Office. I tested many complicated versions that I had, files in Farsi and English, and it opened without any problem. Installing fonts and is very easy, actually, to install any font that we want, no matter what. Much less complicated than other versions. So little by little, honestly, I understand that, yes, switching from Mac and PC to Linux is possible. it's not that much complicated that before. But of course, it requires a little bit researches before that. So I suggest anyone who wants to do that, just first of all, in the beginning, know that what kind of computer you have, what kind of hardwares you have in your computer, and then go for the softwares. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Babak. Pat, it seems that I think your last week's talk was not finished and you had so much more to talk about, especially there are so many important things that people must know and be aware of and consider because we are approaching to the new year and so many online shoppings and online scams and so many such kind of stuff. It's yours. Please go on.
Okay, thank you. I want to talk today about who your chief security officer is in your household, and something that is very popular now is a lot of people are buying these doorbell cameras because they want security in their home. And I also want to talk about cyberbullying and protecting your family from that. So who is a chief security officer in your household? Who is responsible? At every company, there's somebody responsible for security. Who is that person in your household, making sure that your kids are safe and everything that you have in your household is safe? And I want to talk about these doorbells. Now, a lot of people are getting these surveillance cameras. Maybe it's on their doorbell, maybe it's a camera in their home, but are you first checking what the security capabilities are of those different cameras before you purchase the camera? And are they able to be encrypted? Because a lot of these devices we call Internet of Things devices, they have default password or default security on there. We want to make sure that we change all those things so that it's a particular code and password that we put on there. And what's interesting is I was reading more about these cameras is that, you know, some people actually have the cameras in their home. When they're gone, they want to see what their pets are doing or maybe what the babysitter's doing, those types of things. But that means that if a hacker can hack into your security camera, they can see everything that's going on in your home as well. And even if you just have one on the outside, they can see when you're coming and going. So they know, hey, they're not home right now, and maybe, you know, they can break into your home. And they also recommend that you have, you know, different passwords for each of the devices. There's so many things now that we can turn on and off with our cell phones. People can look into their refrigerator to see what's in there. So when they're grocery shopping, see if they need more milk. People have their coffee makers on their smartphones. They have baby monitors they can look at and access and run through their smartphones. And there was one family that the child could hear somebody talking in the background, and it wasn't their parents, it was somebody else who had access to the baby monitor or the smart TVs. Nobody usually bothers to change the passwords on these devices. And you can even, you know, start your car with your phone. So there are more and more items that can be hacked and can be accessed through the internet. And it's going to be more and more, you know, as time goes on. People can lock their houses, they can open up the garage doors, shut the garage doors. And they say that you should have a unique password for each device and use an email address that you don't use as your primary email address, because our email addresses have been in so many data breaches. It's not even funny. And I have a number of different email addresses, but I use two primarily. So, of course, I'm sure they've been hacked in one of these big hackings, especially the Equifax hack that affected most adults. So they say come up with an email address that people don't know so that you can try to keep your information as secure as possible. And, you know, your children, maybe they have fun with the Alexa or, you know, Google Home or all those different devices that they can give them commands. Well, they're listening to everything that's going on in the home. And, you know, if somebody can hack into that and listen to what you're talking about, listening to personal information that you're sharing with your family members, you know, they can access that and you have to watch out, what your children are saying. And I tell people if they're working from home and they have secure information about their company that they don't want other people to hear, to turn those devices off, because we all know, we've talked, and maybe even in our cell phones, and the next thing we know is we go to a website and the thing that we were just talking about is showing up on the website. So we don't want to be talking about company secrets when we're, have these things in our homes, listening to those devices and listening to our conversations. And I also wanted to talk about cyberbullying. It's a huge problem, not only for children. We think of cyberbullying, we think of kids, but it's adults as well. And they say that 85% of all teens use social media, and 59% of all young internet users stated they'd experienced bullying online. That's 3 out of 5 people, 3 out of 5 youngsters. And the effects of this is not just your personal information, but it's your reputation, your privacy. And there have even been reports of suicide linked to cyberbullying. People, feel terrible about themselves. And this information, say it's pictures, maybe that somebody got a hold of, or somebody bullied someone into sharing. If you don't share these pictures with me, I'm going to do this. Maybe they're threatening to tell some information. And then these pictures go viral, or this information goes viral. And you really need to, train your children on what not to share on social media and what not to share. I was watching earlier today a video that a first grader was making of on our project that she was doing, but her father was in the background, her brother was in the background, and they were not really paying attention to what she was doing. They were kind of, laughing and making fun. But before they came in the room, they didn't even know she was recording anything. And the mother posted that, okay, it turned out to be a funny video, but she found out after the first grader sent it to her teacher that she had even made this video. So people are really, taking advantage of the technology, which is a good thing, but it can be a bad thing as well. I had a gentleman tell me on Monday that his preschooler was watching something for school on his iPad, and he thought he was fine and good. He left the room, he came back, and his son was on a completely different website that he had no idea how he got on that website, what he was doing. And it was even in a foreign language, and there were, pictures and things. So it really, parents really need to take control of, the privacy within their own home. And with this cyberbullying, it does happen to adults. I've seen people post things, especially around political things. It can get pretty hot because people are taking both sides. They're also taking 2 sides for this coronavirus, and should you wear a mask and not wear a mask. And people are starting to, they can spread false rumors about people if they disagree with them. They start badgering them, stalking them. There can be physical threats, even death threats have happened because of this cyberbullying and people not agreeing. And you might downplay it and say, well, it's only on a computer, it's only on my phone. No, it can be real. People can physically find out where you live. In fact, there's a quote I want to give you. There's a guy that he was arrested. He's now on the good side of the law, Frank Abagnale. He was the subject of the movie Catch Me If You Can. Well, now he works with the FBI, but he said he trains law enforcement officers around the country about identity theft. And he asks officers for simply their name and address, nothing more. He said in a matter of hours, he can obtain everything he would need to steal their lives: social security numbers, dates of birth, current salaries, checking account numbers, names of everyone in their families, and more, which illustrates how easy it is for anyone in the world to assume the identity of someone else in a matter of hours. So you think, oh, I'm not putting that much information out there, but even with the little information you put out, someone can go alcohol problems or drug abuse problems or self-harm because of the intensity of the bullying. It's even resulted in eating disorders, panic attacks, depression. And you think, well, the kids aren't in school, so they can't be bullied. Well, when I was a kid, kids were being physically bullied and beat up, and you'd see somebody beating someone up walking home from school. Now it's just all in the computer, and it can have devastating impact because you can't get away from it. Years ago, if it was physical bullying, you could go in the house and your parents would protect you. Well, now it's all over. And with kids going to school online, first graders, kindergartners all have iPads. They have access to the internet. So parents really need to be careful of what they have access to, and restrict things when they can in terms of the websites that the kids are allowed to go to. So again, who's taking charge in your household of chief security? And if you don't have the skills to do it, you may need to pay someone to do that for you and to give you advice and consultation on that. So I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Those are very important issues that you mentioned, specifically who is responsible at home about the security of our home network and the computers and devices. That problem that you mentioned about the gentleman's kid who was supposed to do something on the computer for the school, but he was redirected to another website which was not part of the school project. This actually happened to me a few years ago, and this was the reason that I created Asgard Security to protect our children, because these hackers do not care about anything. They hack websites and make redirect websites to other websites, make problems, and they don't care about the consequences of these actions and what will happen to our children. These are our future, and we need to protect them. So that was the reason that I created the Asgard Security. And in our next episodes, one of the tools that I start to promote, to introduce and talk about some security tools that can be installed on the computers and notebooks, on Windows-based computers and notebooks, to control the websites and to control the computer and monitor security of the computer, and also tools that people can use for online shopping, secure environment that you can securely enter your credit card information, and if there was any problem, that software blocks them. Those are very important, and we will talk about them for people very soon from the next episode. And for the Linux also, there are lots of information, reviews, everything about the Linux operating system. Most of them are from the non-tech people that only see the graphic environment and wow, this version has this number of menus, the icons are nice, the desktop environment is nice, but what about the quality of the software? What about the functionality of the software? What about the security of the software? some of these softwares are not secure at all. Even some of these distributions are not secure at all, like Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is among the professional Linux users is a notorious version, and they have serious security privacy issues. But it is very easy to use. People are using. But if you want to care about your privacy, if your privacy is important, if the security of your information is important, you must consider all the reviews and see the solutions on how to protect your computer. Even the best operating system with faulty software again has security problems. Kurt, you are always have some interesting questions at the end of each session. I'm waiting to hear your interesting questions.
All right, thank you, Daryoush. Well, I mean, I guess, if I were to speculate where some of these realities, stories where people have a problem and how do they have the problem? There's a saying, haste makes waste, so in our busy lives, we tend not to, make the time to get these precautions in place. So Pat, I mean, you have, product and systems, your service, how does that work? What are the testimonials like here to what you spoke to in how with your company and what it provides, that it kind of serves that time constraint for people and they're able to get a little helping hand in this, because it's tough to make sure that all the bullet points you brought forth, it's tough to take care of it all. So how are you helping in this?
Yes, we actually do have an ID Shield product that helps not only monitor your personal information on the dark web and the deep web to see if it's up for sale. We also provide privacy and reputation management services. So if someone is getting bullied, we have partnered with a third-party company to help our members with that and address that particular issue. And we do have licensed private investigators that our members, once they join, have access to help them with their social media privacy as well, how to keep the information private. We do monitor their social media. So we look to see if they're putting something out there that could put themselves at risk of identity theft or could hurt their reputation. But we also go back to when they first started that social media account. So something they posted 10 years ago when they were in college, if we see that, it could be bad for their reputation, we're going to bring it forward to them and they're going to look at it and decide, should I change it? Can I delete it? Should I just leave it as is? But also give them counseling on reputation. Also voice assistant privacy. We'll tell them recommendations and what they should do to keep their information private. Browser privacy, password privacy. We have recommendations for all those things. Smart TV privacy, how to get your information off these data broker sites. And then we even monitor the financial accounts to see if there's even a change as low as $100. And if we do see a change, we will notify you. And we do have $1 million insurance policy so that if we can't get the money back or you can't get the money back, we'll reimburse you up to $1 million. So there's all kinds of things. We even have sex offender searches. So if you do have children at home, you can turn that function on of the service and say you want to know if a sex offender moved within 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 miles of your home. There's a lot of different aspects. We have the most comprehensive identity theft protection plan. A lot of different aspects where all you have to do is make the phone call and you can talk to someone to give them some advice on the topics that we talked about.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. If you have any questions about identity theft or anything which is related to the Legal Shield, feel free to contact Pat. It's patherberger.com is our website. And if you have any other technical questions about the computer security, website security, and cyber security. You can send your questions to questions@aranet.tech.
Okay, yes.
And we will respond to you as soon as possible.
Yes. My actual website is my full name, patriciaherberger.com.
patriciaherberger.com. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone, and have a happy Thanksgiving.